When you're in the market for a car, but you're just out of time, here's your look at the Playmobil Back to the Future, the Delorean. Playmobil goes back to the future. The iconic Delorean features folding wheels for hover mode, doors which open upward, an illuminated flux capacitor inside, and illuminated exterior. Also included is Plutonium, which can be inserted into the back of the vehicle. The playset comes complete with Marty McFly and Doc Brown in their outfits from 1985. Includes a Plutonium case, skateboard, remote control, and Einstein the dog. Great Scott! Before we get a closer look at the Playmobil DeLorean, let's first look at the actual figures that come included with it. We're going to measure these off as well, so in case you're curious as to how tall Marty and Doc Brown actually stand, this is where I come in. This is where I provide some necessary 411 for you. I'm not going to measure both the figures. Instead, I'm only going to measure Marty. Simply because the figures are going to be the same height to one another. Marty McFly, just on his own, is 3.3 inches in height. Switching that over to centimeters, the figure is 8.5 centimeters tall. Being that the set is only 64 pieces in size, the build is pretty straightforward and pretty easy to accomplish. Took me probably about 15 minutes or so to actually get everything put together on the DeLorean. But most of the Playmobil vehicles will basically give you a full framed body already, and you're only simply just then snapping the pieces onto it. We'll talk more about the DeLorean then in a second. Of course, to help you along your ways, you get yourself an instruction guide. This is set 70317, and you can see the featured on the front, the light-up features of the DeLorean. Sadly, no sound effects. The inside shows you the breakdown of the characters and the thing that you're going to be getting, the DeLorean, Emmett Brown, Marty McFly, and of course, little tiny Einstein down below. The pages, I think, are only about 10 pages in size, or length. You'll see that it already starts with this being the main body of the DeLorean, and you're literally just applying some stickers first, and then snapping on the pieces all around the body until you get the finished DeLorean. Like I said, when it gets to the final step, which is the installation of the battery pack, let's get to the final page, which is right, well, it's not quite right there. Bring it back a little bit there, page 10. Page 10 just shows you how to install the battery pack and how to illuminate the DeLorean, which we'll talk more about in a second. Funny enough, though, I find the grid pattern work in the back of the background here looks something like I would expect to see from Transformers. Something also that would have originated from the 80s. So there's your instruction guide. We can put that to the side, and also to come included with it, alluded in the instructions, you get yourself a sticker sheet. I would like to hope that at least I put the stickers in the right place, put them where they belong. We'll certainly see that more in a second. So we'll put that sheet to the side. And, of course, let's have a look at the minifigures, starting first maybe with Doc Brown. All the figures themselves are your standard Playmobil figures. Resist the urge to add the E on the end of it. It's actually Playmobil minus the E. But you got yourself a stock Doc Brown. A stock Doc Brown. He has his white outfit here. I would hope at some point, maybe down the road, we are going to be getting a Back to the Future 2 DeLorean set, where, of course, we can have Doc Brown with the very shiny shades that he has. Now, some things that had to be assembled to the figure, the belt was already there in place. I didn't have to do that. I did add a wristwatch. He's got 2 wristwatches on either side. One good thing is you may not even see it down here. You get a bunch of extras. So I guess if you wanted to, you could put these on Marty McFly. You get 2 extra silver ones. And you get an extra, I could pick it up. You get an extra black one as well. And those just snap onto his wrist. Just move those out of the way. Detailing on Doc Brown is pretty good. He's got his receding hairline. Kind of an interesting way that they've done that on the figure itself. And of course, these figures have standard articulation that you would find on all Playmobil figures. The heads rotate back and forth, arms rotate all the way around. The clamp hands rotate back and forth, and you can also get them in a seated position. Let's have a look at some of the things that come included with Doc Brown. He gets this little control lanyard. It's made of a rubbery plastic. This fits just over his head. You may have to then stretch it to fit it over top of his big giant melon of a head. And that just basically drapes to the side like that. I thought there may have been stickers that would have applied here, but there wasn't. Not that I saw, at least. The other thing he comes included with is his little tool pouch. Just a brown plastic piece that has the painted on there wrench. Looks like a couple of screwdrivers there as well. And that then clamps onto the front of his belt. Just like that. Whoops. Just like that. Let's not lose these things after all. And then you get that. And then the last thing he comes included with, which almost kind of looks like a dustpan. It's his little joystick. Doesn't it kind of look like a dustpan? I feel it looks a little like a dustpan. There's the ledge on the end of it that's going to then clamp onto his hands. Awkwardly like this until, of course, we turn it around. And there you got Doc Brown with his little joystick. Again, it looks like he's sweeping up after Einstein. Oh, speaking of Einstein, let's put Doc Brown here down. Picking up his little tiny pooch. You get yourself a very tiny little Einstein. Little paint, unfortunately, found its way onto Einstein's leg, but all the rest of the figure's paint is pretty good. It does have posability as well. You can move the head down, so it looks like it's eating for the day, and also can put the head up as well. Tail also goes down as well, so if he's been scolded or a happy Einstein, you can bring the tail right up. So it's nice to see that they include that as well. Rounding out the last things that come included with Doc Brown, you get yourself the case, the canister of plutonium. Stickers were required to apply onto this. I put a sticker here, and then I put a sticker here on the sides, on the front, on the sides, and on the back there as well. Admittingly, I suppose the stickers probably could have been applied just a little bit cleaner. I don't know why there we go. Camera had a tough time somehow I guess the camera had a problem with plutonium. Don't we all? It says plutonium, handle with care. It almost seems like the stickers in some cases are way too long. I lined it up what I thought was in the right place, but it seems like it's overlapping just a little bit. I noticed that also on the top here, that the sizing of the stickers don't quite line up properly. Probably could have brought that down a little bit, but even here, you can't bring the sticker down really any further because it's going to hit this part right here on the top. See what I mean? Anyways, this does open. Actually, there are handles on either side, so if you want to have your figures holding them, carrying and dragging these if you want to, but it rattles. That's probably the reason why. Inside, you'll find extra canisters of plutonium. They are identical to one another. Let's just dump them out here. You're basically getting like a rubberized bottom base, and then you get the handle piece that goes on top of it. These can then be replaced with the one that's currently sitting on the top of the DeLorean. You just pop that out, so you don't have to necessarily make the noise when you do it. And then you just put the replacements in instead. I'll show you guys that in a second as well. The only takeaway I would probably comment on when it comes to the plutonium case is I would have made something in there so that they could sit inside, like a little tray. Of course, this would then have involved making the case a little bit deeper so it would be able to properly close. Or they could have made it in such a way that you laid them down. As this case is, I don't know the instability of plutonium, but I would imagine you probably wouldn't want to be rattling it around like this inside of a canister. And then that closes shut. Put that to the side. Now let's move on over to Marty McFly. Marty McFly has his wind jacket on, life preserver jacket, as you can see. I did do some things to apply to the figure. You have to take the part of his shirt. You end up having to snap these on. I'll just take one of them off so you can see what I'm doing here. They just look like little cuff pieces, and they just snap into place to finish off the figure. I guess technically, if you wanted to, you could leave one of these off. You know what, let's do that. It may look a little out of place, but if you wanted to, you could take then the extra wristwatches. I don't know why we have so many included in this set. And that should fit on. I don't know, dealing with such microscopic accessories. There you go, you can actually put a wristwatch on his hand as well. May look probably a little out of place, the fact he does have the sleeve on the one side rolled up and then a wristwatch. Okay, you know what? Changing our mind. Let's change our mind. Let's put that back in place. So then you have Marty McFly here. He does come with a couple of accessories himself. The camcorder, as you can see right there. A decently sculpted little tiny Playmobil camera. And there is a ledge just on the side of it right here. That fits onto his hand. I find it actually helps not to have it this way. I guess you could have it this way because then you'd be facing in the viewfinder, but it gets awfully close to his chest. I actually rather put it on this side. Now, granted, I don't know what he's really going to be looking at with the camera sitting on this side of things, but at least it stays out of the way. Stays out of the way as well for his other accessory. He comes included with a skateboard. Now, the skateboard doesn't clip onto his hand. It's not thick enough, as you can see right there. But, however, he does have the means to actually ride it. First of all, we'll look at it on the top. Got some nice printing there of Madrid. Can't quite make out what that says down below. Volterra. One thing that they have added to the skateboard is not only functional wheels, but they've also added this little lip of plastic. That may look a little out of place, like almost as if it's supposed to clamp on the bottom of his feet. But what they do instead, you take the feet. You know what, I'm going to take the camera out of his hand because I feel like the camera's going to fall out. You take his feet and you just clip them onto the side of it so the skateboard stays in place. It's kind of a clever way of doing it. Yes, while you may see a big plastic piece sticking out from the top of the skateboard, at least it gives him the means to ride his skateboard. Articulation on Marty McFly would be the exact same as Doc Brown, so we won't really cover off on that. But a nice looking figure if you like Playmobil. I like the way that they've also stitched in the jeans. Okay, that being said, let's move these figures all over, free up a little bit of necessary space, and we'll have a look at the DeLorean itself. Now, the majority of those 64 pieces we talked about earlier, of course, are for the construction of the DeLorean. When you get this out of the box, picking it up right now, the main body is pretty much already finished for you, as well as the doors. Those are already attached as well. From there, you're really only adding things on, like the front bumper, the front grille, the tires, of course, and all the hosing that runs down the side of the DeLorean. I did, of course, apply some stickers. Stickers were applied on the front of the bumper, onto the side. We're not going to cover off every single place. There's a couple of stickers on the top. Stickers, of course, running down this side here. And, of course, much needed, the sticker on the back, complete with the license plate sticker out of time. One critique I could possibly make about the stickers is I don't know how long-term they're going to stay on this. More so is these pieces right here, the part that curve. Generally, stickers don't stick too well to things that curve. So I've already now flattened this down a couple of times. Right down here, this has also popped up a couple of times as well. I think there is adhesive that you can buy to fix down stickers, or I might just ultimately just take them right off. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with those just yet. We've already talked about the fact that the Plutonium is removable. You just pop this off. There you go. And then you just replace it with the other one. I would imagine if there was a Back to the Future set, there probably would be a Mr. Fusion that would actually sit inside there. Mr. Fusion, you just pop that in place. But for the time being, we've got ourselves some Plutonium. You'll see one other thing. Let's pop that back in there. There's a little slot located here on the back of the DeLorean. That's for the included lightning rod. Kind of a nice touch, the fact that they would have actually included this. And the way that they've designed it, too. You could leave it off completely also. Just slide that in place. And then, of course, it can catch on to the line, providing, of course, you hit that lightning bolt. Get that lightning bolt hitting that line just at the right proper time. The unfortunate thing about the lightning rod, though, the lightning post here, is it doesn't sit properly in there. It sits in the slot, but it doesn't stay well in there. It's not like you're actually plugging in place. As quickly as I put it in, you can see it. I mean, it will fall right out when you tip the DeLorean upside down. Another thing that actually doesn't stay very well on the DeLorean is this piece right here. Again, I would have thought that this would have plugged more securely in place, but it's more just a case that it rests inside the hole. And providing you don't bang and tip the DeLorean, then maybe you shouldn't have any problems with it. I just wish that that was plugged in place just a little bit more. It flops and spins around a lot. Looking at the detailing on the side of the DeLorean, again, hosing had to be installed. Hosing. And we've also included the tires. When you are installing and finishing off the DeLorean for yourself, one thing you may want to make sure that you're doing properly is putting the proper size tires in. The tires on the front of the DeLorean are smaller than the tires on the back. I realized this quickly when I first put the first tire in. I put the larger tire at the front, realizing why it couldn't spin was because I was an idiot. I put the tire on the wrong side. So smaller on the front, bigger at the back. Tires roll quite nicely. Just to show you the undercarriage of the car. Here's the battery pack, by the way. You do have to install 2 AAA batteries. They're not included when you pick this up for yourself. Just unscrew this plate, put in your 2 AAA batteries, and then you've got yourself some light-up features. Again, sadly, no sound. Having already the Ecto-1 from Playmobil, I kind of would have hoped that they would have had some audio also included in this set as well, because I think the other one did have audio in the Ecto-1. Overall, though, it's a nice-looking representation of the DeLorean. It does have also the fold-in tire feature. The folding tires, I kind of wish would have been done a little bit more successfully. What it is there's this tab piece right there that latches on to this part of the plastic right here. You basically just detach that. And while you're doing it, I keep pinching my thumb because when you pinch it in, it starts collapsing in on itself. And then from there, you can see the tire is all loosey-goosey. You just fold it in and snap it into place. Do the exact same thing on the other tires. Again, that little tab piece. Bring it towards the tire. Try not to pinch yourself in the process, and flip that around like that. Do the exact same, as we've already said, on the other sides as well. Fold that in and fold this in. I feel like it's almost unavoidable that you're going to be pinching your thumb every single time you're doing this. I wish there was a simpler tool, like a button release or something like that. It's not even, again, so much a button release. I almost feel like I need to get some, I'll get my tweezers here. Just bring that forward. I had always a difficulty with one of these tires. It's this tire right here. I probably should have done this one first. Again, just pinching it towards the tire, pinching it towards the tire, and then you can bring it forward. Hold on 1 second. Several painful attempts later, I finally got all those tires folded in, and you've got yourself a pretty serviceable looking hovering DeLorean. It does look nice this way. Unfortunately, though, Playmobil didn't include any sort of flight stands that the Playmobil could sit on top of. I suppose I probably could use myself just a box, but that doesn't look the most creative of ways. And I probably could maybe just use myself like a, I don't know, like a clear stand, maybe from another figure or something like that, to get the DeLorean to hover. Because the only other alternative really is just to have it laying flat. And nobody really wants to do that, right? One unfortunate thing, that side effect of me trying to get these tires all folded in, was one of the problems I thought was going to face the way that they've designed the mechanisms on the bottom here. When we're looking at the tires and folding them in, and all the time that I've spent to try to fold the tires out in the first place with these nice spinning tires, when you are ready to release these, when you are first locking them in, you'll hear a little latch, something that's locking it, it's snapping into place. When you free the tire, you're getting essentially the same thing. And I kept asking myself, not speaking loudly, of course, when I was doing it, I wonder how long that plastic is going to stay durable. Because really, it's still plastic that you're releasing, and it's locking into something, right? And then you got to bring the tire forward, and it's got to then lock onto something else. So again, when we bring this forward, that little piece right there is going to snap on, and that's going to hold the tire in place. Well, I asked myself, how many more times could I do this before one of them broke? That answer came rather quickly, actually, because I did end up breaking one of these. Not this one, not this one. This one right here. You can see down below there what's basically ended up happening. The DeLorean in its driving mode certainly won't be as much of an issue. I mean, it won't lock into place, but providing I'm resting it down onto its, and I have basically the weight sitting on the tire, then I'm not going to have the issue. I don't know how that broke. Well, I do know how it broke, because again, you're bringing this forward and back every single time. How many more times can I do this without probably starting to damage the plastic on that clip? And as soon as that clip is gone, then you're going to have the problem of a tire that's doing this. So that's a bit unfortunate. If I have it just resting like this, the DeLorean moves fine. It's not a case where the tire is going to collapse in on itself, but it's just a real shame that for the number of times I've done this, probably 3-4 times of folding those tires in and bringing them back out, that the clip had to break so quickly in. Anyways. For the light-up features, I guess before we do talk a little bit about the light-up features, let's open up the inside of the doors so you guys can see the interior here. First of all, you got your time readout display right next to the steering wheel. And reverse to that, you've also got yourself the flux capacitor, which is a bit harder to see here. Let's see if we can, there we go, get a good look at that. Now that's going to light up. That's going to be a nice touch when we turn the lights on. And we can also open up the other side of the door. I want to show you how to get the figures inside. That's probably going to be another question that you guys are going to be asking. Well, how do you get the figures inside? Getting them in the passenger side isn't an issue. Getting them in the driver's side, however, is going to be a bit more of a problem. We're going to maybe take Doc Brown. I'm going to put Doc Brown in the passenger side. For this, all you really do is fold the figure's legs forward and just sit him comfortably inside the seat. The figure stays pretty good in there, and then from there you can close up the door. What I was saying, though, is when we look around to this side, the driver's side, of course, is going to have the problem of the steering wheel. If you take your Marty McFly and you fold him up just like this, I find it's a real issue to get him underneath the steering wheel. You're going to be rubbing up against the back of the seat. Well, you're not going to be rubbing up against the back of the seat. Marty's going to be rubbing up against the back of the seat. It's just going to be too much of an issue. I found it was more helpful if you keep the figure's legs straight like this. You're probably thinking, well, why? You're not going to have the figure standing. No, I'm not going to have the figure standing. But all you do is get him underneath the steering wheel like this. And And then once you sort of still have him in a standing pose, fold the legs down, collapse the figure in, and then he's going to stay inside the seat. Just a lot easier, I found. And then from there, we can go ahead and fold the other door inward. And there you've got Doc Brown and Marty McFly inside a DeLorean that has, unfortunately, a broken clip on the back there. To show you the light-up features, this is kind of interesting. Flip it upside down. One thing you probably have noticed this whole time is this piece is missing. I just took this off because I knew it was going to fall off probably a couple of times while doing this. You're going to flip this upside down and gaining then access to this button right here. When you press it, it's going to cycle through technically two settings, two different light settings, and the third setting is going to turn it off. The first setting, when you press it, if I can get my finger actually on it, let's find where, oh, it's right there. The first time you'll do this, the flux capacitor will flash, and then the bumper around the front of the DeLorean as well as the sides will pulsate. You'll see they'll flash on and off. This will do it for a period of time. The other secondary function, as you can see right there, it stays on. And it cycles through this until eventually it turns off. Now you can cut that short by pressing the button the second time. And when you press the button the second time, it would keep this the full illumination. The third button turns it off. And that probably didn't make any sense the way I described that. So I'm going to do it quicker this time. Press it the first time, you're going to have it flashing. Press the button the second time, and it's going to stay on. So that kind of skips that second stage without having to wait for it to do it. And then the third time pressing it will turn it off. That's a nice touch, the fact that they did that. In a way, I kind of would have hoped that they could have also found the way to incorporate some audio. But I mean, based on the fact that this is actually a build set as well, and the fact that you're getting two minifigs, well, two figurines, and you got yourself, of course, Einstein. I mean, it's a nice looking set. The only thing I really don't care about when it comes to this release of the DeLorean is the way that they've designed the tires. Going back to, again, that point and being reminded again the fact that I've now got a broken tire on the back, there should have been an easier way, a lot simpler of a way doing this. I guess this is probably the most cost-saving way of doing it, but having this little clip piece not only is a pain in the butt with your finger to try to get that to release, but the number of times, again, doing this, I think I may even have stress marks starting to develop on some of these clips, the ones that, of course, are still intact. Other than that little problem with the tires, which I'm probably just going to have the DeLorean on its full four wheels anyways, moving around like this, I really like the way that this turned out. You get a lot of figures, you get a lot of accessories, and of course you get yourself an illuminated DeLorean. You really can't beat that. The Playmobil Back to the Future DeLorean was released last year. I know I'm a little late looking at this now, but this was one of those sets where I thought to myself, I had picked up Playmobil in the past, but was this another rabbit hole I wanted to travel down? I'm already buying build sets from another company. Do I want to do the same with Playmobil? You know, to the credit, though, of Playmobil, they are picking up some rather interesting licenses that have my curiosity piqued. We've already looked at Ghostbusters in the past. If you haven't seen those reviews, feel free to check those out. Now releasing Back to the Future, and they have also released something also that has my curiosity piqued, Scooby-Doo. I'd even see myself picking up some of those sets. The benefit also is that Playmobil isn't super expensive either. 64 pieces by another company may seem like a pretty small build, but considering the fact you get a full-scale DeLorean like this that actually does illuminate is really quite the nice touch. You get two minifigs or two Playmobil figs, and you also get yourself Einstein the dog. The Playmobil DeLorean also does have the folding in tires. Now, that's something I certainly want to spend a little bit of time talking about. As a certainly cheaper route to go, it's a lot easier just to have those tires on a swingable function and then have them just latch into place with a clip of plastic. The problem that I had when I was first building this, I thought to myself, is that those clips, how durable are those going to be? How many times can I fold those tires in? And really, I sort of ended up answering my question with, I think, 6 times. That's how many times I folded in the tires, folding into a hover mode, folding it out for land mode, and repeating the steps. Till eventually, in between takes here on this review, I heard something rattling on the inside of the DeLorean. Couldn't figure out what exactly it was. I thought Emmett Brown had maybe lost his wristwatch, only to sadly find out later that the clip snapped right off the DeLorean. I ended up just going in and using my finger finally just to release that clamp to bring the wheels in, but that was the time that it took for that clamp piece of plastic to snap right off. Some precautionary measures I would probably recommend to you if you guys are looking to pick this one up for yourself is maybe decide for yourself which way you want to display the DeLorean and not repeatedly bring those tires out, fold them back in. It shouldn't have already happened at the 5th or 6th try of doing it. But ultimately, though, those little clips of plastic, I don't think are going to be strong enough to do that repeated times. Again, it took me only in between breaks for one of those clips to break right off. Probably not going to fold the rest of the tires in anyways because I can't even get the DeLorean to be in a hover mode. Now that I've got a loose tire, I'm probably just going to keep it on the ground. On the ground instead of having it flying. Other than that, though, I'm really happy with how this set picked up, how this set turned out. I'm probably going to be inclined to pick up more of these sets, especially the Back to the Future and the Scooby-Doo. Have you picked up this set for yourself? If so, let me know down below in the comments section if you've had any issues with the clips and the wheels. Hopefully, I'm the only one that's had this problem happen. I'm hoping it's a case where it's not going to be across the board and everybody that's picked up this car has had problems with the little clamp pieces, those little clip pieces of plastic breaking right off. If you guys are new to this channel, enjoying all the content you're seeing, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below. And of course, you can turn on the bell notification so you get those friendly reminders of when new videos will be popping up. You never know, we may be also looking at some more Playmobil sets in the not so distant future. Probably don't need Mr. Fusion in order to do that. Stealing plutonium is so passe. Now all you just need is like kitchen trimmings and just half empty beer. That's all you need just to travel back to the past and travel back to the future. Certainly again, guys, as always, thanks for watching. Make sure you're coming back to this channel on a regular basis, keeping your peepers peeled. Lots of stuff coming your way. So as always, again, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.